Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and today I'm going to do another live react of an IELTS practice speaking test that I found on YouTube. This time the video is brought to you by an organisation called IELTS English Academy, and the candidate overall got a score of 6.5. I haven't watched the video. I'm going to watch it and give my live reaction. I'll give feedback and also I'll give my comments on the examiner's feedback too. So this should be fun. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so let's get started then. All right, so your first question, do you have a pet?
Firstly, just a comment on the examiner. I really love her positive intonation. Sometimes it can be really nervous for candidates to sit there, especially if they're being recorded. And I love the fact that she's kind of smiley. Her intonation is positive. I think it helps a lot.
No, I don't have a pet, but I used to have a pet, which was.
Okay, she doesn't have a pet, but she immediately found something else to speak about. I used to have a pet. I don't like the repetition of this word pet. I feel like this is bad, not bad cohesion, but you know, I don't have a pet, but I used to have one. One as a substitute, a referent word, or like a pronoun here for pet. I don't have a pet, but I used to have one. Such a nicer, more natural way of saying it.
A dog. Yeah, the dog name was Choco.
So missing that S, possessive S. Whose name? My name, but Glyn's name or the dog's name. Don't hear that S. The dog's name.
From chocolate, because the color of the dog was the same color as dark brown, but he passed away like 2 years ago.
So firstly, sorry about the dog. Secondly, I like the intonation. He passed away. She changes her intonation to express bad news. This is good skill. And also, nice development. You know, Chuko comes from chocolate. It's easy to understand, fully developed.
Oh, yeah.
And what types of animals do you think make the best pets?
I think dogs are the best pet for me, because whenever I see dogs, their
I like this whenever I see dogs. I like it.
their hair seems very flurry to me.
I think she means furry or maybe fluffy, and she's between these two words, fluffy and furry, and she comes up with flurry. I don't know if that's enough to make a dog the best pet, but maybe for her it is, so okay.
So that makes me kind of comfortable to me. So
Just some strange grammar there. That makes me comfortable to me. Again, she's between two grammatical constructions. That makes me feel comfortable, or maybe that's comforting for me, or that's comfortable to me for me. Yeah, a little bit inaccurate.
yeah. Also, whenever I see dogs, they're
So I like this whenever, but now we've already had it twice in a row, and it makes me feel, oh, maybe is this a trick of hers? Sometimes students come to their tests with tricks, and they have like a favorite set of constructions that they think are going to do well, and so they use them many times. I'm not saying that that's what this student is doing here. I certainly have a number of repetitive things in my communicative repertoire, including the word certainly. certainly. I used it a lot, of course. So, you know, just a small point. Whenever, I've heard it twice now.
behaviors are very friendly, and the way they.
Friendly is okay, but again, friendly is one of those adjectives that, you know, everybody knows. There's nothing wrong with it, but maybe something more ambitious could be nice. I think she said the behaviors are friendly. Using behaviors as a plural noun is also strange.
Their act is very always very lively and liberation. So yeah.
Yeah, very lively, fine, but liberation? I don't know. Firstly, liberation is a noun. It looks like she's looking for an adjective here. So I didn't get that. That was the wrong word, and that wrong word created some confusion for me.
That's why.
Okay.
Love the examiner's reaction. Of course, in a real IELTS test, you probably won't get so much emotion from the examiner, but, you know, the examiner's a human here. It's nice.
Now, why do people have pets?
I think pets are kind of one of the friends to people. So people normally want to have a pet because
Nice bit of chunking there. People normally want to have a, it's connected speech. People normally want to have a, so a little bit of connected speech. Her speech so far hasn't been sustained as connected, but there is an example of good rhythm and good chunking there.
whenever they have pets, they could be friends.
That word whenever again, I don't hate it, but now 3 times in part 1.
Also, they could be family to them, so they can feel comfortable and they can lean.
I like that pronunciation of comfortable too. There's a lot of nouns together there. Sorry, not nouns, a lot of consonants together there. Comfortable. So it can be very difficult for people to say that word comfortable. But she gets it out very nicely. Cool. Shows good range of phonological features.
On their pets. So that's why I think.
Okay, great. And are there any types of animals that you think should not be kept as a pet?
For me, some pets are kind of.
So even though it's not a linguistic feature, it's still a communicative feature. Just instead of just responding with pauses, the body language, and then gets into it. So it's nice, it's natural, it makes a good impression. I think there should be a 5th criteria for like overall impression. In some of the Cambridge exams, they have this global achievement mark, and that's kind of like a mix of everything. And in some of the old Cambridge tests, they used to have, instead of criteria, they had like an impression mark. So the examiner just, what kind of impression did you get of the candidate? And so far, as an impression, good impression. She's positive.
Very toxic or bad for.
Toxic, nowadays in 2024, usually when we think of toxic, we think about people who maybe psychologically manipulate us. Of course, the original meaning of toxic means poisonous, but I don't know, animals, toxic, I guess it could be used. I prefer poisonous or dangerous, but toxic could be okay.
Or human health, such as cockroaches, something like that. So
That's an interesting choice. I agree, cockroaches aren't the best pets for humans. But okay, I would have gone with something else, maybe with like spiders or something, or maybe something that's cruel to keep, like, I don't know, monkeys or something. But okay, fine, cockroaches, I agree. Don't keep cockroaches as a pet.
because they have some viruses, could be viruses. So I don't think people should keep cockroaches as pets.
Okay, so a little bit of repetition there. She said she doesn't think, maybe you could say that she's just like concluding by restating and reformulating, but there's no paraphrase. I don't think there's a paraphrase. It seems like a bit of a repetition.
Okay, so just something that's dangerous for health.
Again, the examiner's being a human here. So the examiner is like feeding back to the candidate her answers and what she said. And this is something we often do as teachers, and psychologically this lets them know, like, hey, I understand what you've said. Examiners could possibly do this in part 3, but certainly not in part 1. In part 1 we are robots. We ask our question and why? Ask the question and why? Why not? So certainly you wouldn't expect some feedback, but it's a practice test. The examiner wants to be a human. It's okay.
Health reasons. I see. Okay. Now, so that is the end of the first section.
So one thing I will say is that we only got one topic there. Usually you get like some type of personal topic. Do you work? Do you study? Where are you from? Tell me about your hometown. And then you might get like a couple of topics. Here we only got animals. So we only got a few questions about animals. Now, of course, when we want to check a candidate's lexical resource, we want to give them a variety of topics. So not just animals, but we want to give them a few familiar topics at part 1, just to see if they can flexibly bounce between different lexical fields, shall we say. So it was a bit disappointing just to get questions about animals there. I thought, add add at least one more topic, or if not two more.
And now we're going to...
Do you know what the number one biggest mistake
sorry.
all over the world is in presentation and presentation skills? It's that the
Sorry about
going to
that.
move on to the extended response part of the test. So you'll have 1 minute to prepare.
Okay, she's explaining the task fine. I still think, just learn the script. So in this part of the test, I'm going to give you a topic, and I even don't have it memorized in my head right now, but if I'm giving the speaking test, just use the script from the speaking test, but not a big deal, I guess.
Prepare your answer for the following question. Your question is...
Oh no, we get animals again? Are you serious? In part 1 we got pets, and now in part 2 we got animals, and as we all know, part 3, the topics of part 3 should be loosely connected to the topic in part 2, and so I really hope we don't get animals, because that really... that's not nice to have like part 1 pets, part 2 wild animal, and then part 3 questions about animals. This is something you might do in class if you're preparing, if you've just maybe studied some vocabulary connected to animals. When you're teaching students, you might have a class where you have like a part 1 connected to animals, a part 2 connected to animals, and a part 3 connected to animals, just so we can activate as much of that vocab as possible. But in a practice test, no, we need more variety of topics, so you should plan better. Sorry.
To describe a wild animal... Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
To describe a wild animal that lives in your country. Okay, and that's 1 minute.
All right.
So first thing from part 1, just a little bit of feedback. So the answers are reasonably full, they're fine, they're mostly coherent. A couple of breakdowns in coherence, mostly because of choosing the wrong word, I think liberation or flurry or something like that. But okay, the flurry thing didn't create big problems with coherence, but the liberation thing certainly did. Yeah, pronunciation, very clear, okay. Fluency, not bad, not full flow. She's kind of around about a 6 at the moment, but, maybe knocking on the door of 6.5 overall. But let's see how she does in part 2. Part 2 will be a test of her fluency. Can she speak at length for 2 minutes with a nice flow of speech? So I'm always interested more than anything else in fluency and coherence in part 2. I really want to see the candidate filling that 2 minutes, not with pauses, but I like to see them filling it with clauses and clauses and clauses. And I'm also looking for the way that she creates meaning across the whole text here. So she's going to need cohesive devices, she's going to need linkers and discourse markers. That's what I look for in part 2. Let's see how she does.
So I'm gonna describe a wild animal in my country, which is South Korea. So I think one of the wild animals in South Korea is tigers.
Yeah, we've got wild animals twice now. Okay, it's has high topical importance, so maybe wild animals will feature a few times.
They live at the zoo. Sometimes they could be found in the
Not sure where they live. At the Jew? Didn't quite get that.
forest as well. And I think whenever people see
Get that whenever again.
tigers, they feel scared, or they might think they are dangerous because they have sharp teeth and they look kind of scary. And I think tigers are gonna fewer in the future because
Tigers are going to fewer, so this sounds like a verb, right? They're going to do what? They're going to eat, they're going to run, they're going to sleep, they're going to fewer. So she's missing the verb be here, so they're going to be fewer, maybe is okay, but maybe there are going to be fewer tigers in the future is a more natural construction. So there is, there are, there was, there were, there's going to be, there's not going to be, there are going to be, there aren't going to be. There aren't going to be so many tigers in the future. There are going to be fewer tigers in the future. So much more natural.
this is considered as endangered animals.
This is considered, this as a nice cohesive device, a nice simple determiner, but again, it sounds like that's the plural, this. And I know this and these. Is it a grammar mistake here, or is it a pronunciation mistake? Who knows? My students always tell me it's a pronunciation mistake, but they write this instead of these in writing, and so I know it's a grammar mistake. So if it is a pronunciation mistake, then maybe that's means she's not going to get the 7 for pronunciation, because at 7 we really want that precision. We want like really flexible phonological features. We want to tell the difference between ship and sheep and this and these and things like this.
Because tigers are very unique these days, so some bad people try to catch it and try to.
In terms of connectives, like I've heard because, I've heard and, I think I've heard but nothing more than that. No even though, or despite, or in order to, or as well as that, or having said that, or furthermore. I'm not a big fan of furthermore. It's all right, but nothing like that yet.
To make it as their own pet, so that people think that this
So that is a good one, so that people think, I like that.
tiger is very special to them.
So accent, is it a pronunciation mistake? Special. So I understand that many accents in Asia struggle with L when it appears as a final, when it appears as the last consonant, the last sound in a word, like finer, special, something like this. So it's, it's noticeably kind of inappropriate, kind of a mistake.
So I think tiger.
A lot of I think too. I think is very, very high frequency language. So I expect to hear I think a lot. But I've heard it, maybe 4 or 5 times.
Would be fewer in the future.
Okay, we've got that would be fewer. So lower level learners, and I'm not saying that this lady is a lower level learner, but lower level learners can't speak at length without repeating their ideas. And so if candidates repeat their idea, it often makes me think like either they didn't plan well, or they have problems with fluency. They have problems developing and extending their answers. Developing and extending is a skill that can be learnt like anything else. It often, like all skills, it feels super difficult and even impossible until you learn how to do it. When you learn how to do it, it's super easy.
Okay. All right. Awesome work. So
again, feedback. So of course, it's a practice test. It's a mock test. It's not a real test. You might not expect the examiners to say awesome work, but again, I have to say I really like this the way that this examiner does her job here. It's nice.
let's get on to the topic questions now. So what is the purpose of having zoos?
So part 1, pets. Part 2, wild animals. Part 3, zoos. You have to give your candidates more variety, unless, maybe there's a secret deal here, right? Maybe the candidate went to the organization and said, hey, one problem area I have in my lexical resource is animals. Can we have a speaking test where every topic is about animals, please? Maybe that's possible. But if that's not the case, then you have to give the candidate more variety of topics, not just animals.
I think having the purpose of.
Again, I think there's nothing wrong with I think, but there are so many alternatives as far as I'm concerned. If you ask me, to my mind, in my opinion, I reckon, I believe, I'm convinced that, I'm sure that, I guess that, there are lots of alternatives.
Having zoos is because I think zoos make people happy because.
She's saying zoos. So when she talked about where tigers were before in zoos, her z sounds are coming out a bit like a j sound.
We are humans, and humans want to see similar species, and at the zoo there are lots of animals, but they don't speak languages, but same animals. So we can still see animals without languages. So I think people think that very special thing
Again, special.
because we are saying animals, but they don't use languages. So
It often feels unfair. Like, what is an accent and what is a phonological feature, right? I'm from Wales, and like really strong Welsh accents often don't have diphthongs, so we don't say phone, we say phone. I called her on the phone. Now, when a Welsh person does this, it's considered to be, you know, a feature of Welsh English. But when a Korean person says special, it's, you know, do we consider that to be an inappropriacy? I have some background in sociolinguistics, and so, you know, for us sociolinguistics, we would just say that's just another interesting variety that is there to be studied, and we put no stamp saying right or wrong. But this is IELTS, and you know, what do we accept as being? I think they don't even use the word like a mistake or not a mistake. I think they use like appropriate pronunciation or acceptable pronunciation. But I don't know, special. I think at IELTS probably you lose something for that.
that's why.
And what is your opinion about animals being kept in zoos?
So we get, what is your opinion? Let's see if we can get something other than I think. Come on, give me a, if you ask me, or as far as I'm concerned. Come on, not I think. Please, not I think.
For me, I think I feel kind of bad for the animals at the zoo because
Okay, she got the Z at that time.
they don't seem to have freedom.
I like that dropping the eliding of the T too. They don't seem to have, don't seem to have. That's natural, that's nice.
So I prefer to see them in
I think she's saying prefer, I prefer. Again, not all of the phonological features are there.
the wild because that makes me feel kind of comfortable because animals should be more having freedom than just being captured at the zoo.
Yeah, I think, did we get a passive gerund in there than being captured? Like, better than being kept or being captured. So, a bit of a perfect gerund, not a perfect gerund, a passive gerund. It's, I like passive gerunds. Big fan.
And how do you think zoos could be improved?
So just a point for the examiner. She doesn't have to do this, of course, but in part 3, this is where you can engage, and I certainly recommend, at least for one of the questions, dig into the candidate's answer a little bit, call them on it, ask them to explain something, ask them to give an example, ask them to follow up and extend their answer a little bit more. You do have that liberty in part 3 as an examiner.
For me, I think the zoo.
For me, I think, in the previous answer, this answer, for me, I think, in this one, again, bit repetitive.
Keepers should make the
Zookeepers, that's very good topic, precise words, cool words. A good topic, precise word. I know my singulars and plurals.
zoo in the forest, in the wild nature. They normally make the zoo in the city, and that could be a kind of how do I say it? Paradox, because animals should be living in the wild and nature, but they actually live in the city. Yeah, so
I don't know if that's quite a paradox. It might be a contradiction, maybe, or it might be inappropriate or unsuitable. Not sure if it quite qualifies as a paradox, but okay.
if the zookeeper make the zoo,
Third person as if a zookeeper makes or if zookeepers make. So that present simple. I know it's frustrating. Some statistics suggest that only C1 users ever get reliable control over their he, she, it, s, which is sad news for many students.
in the nature, then that'll be better, I think.
Yeah, that was
So an attempt at using a hypothetical conditional, but I don't know. I think she started with like if and present simple and then will. That will be better. or maybe she said that would be better, but I certainly think second conditional. If they made, or if they put, or if we had zoos in the countryside, that would be better. So that's how you hypothesize with skill, and it's only A2 B1 grammar, second conditional. Seems to be, I don't know, for me it seems to be a reasonably easy piece of grammar to learn, but yeah, didn't quite hit it.
Would be great, right? And do you think it is important to conserve the world's animal species?
Of course, because animal species are a very important part of our system, because
What system? Ecosystem, perhaps?
humans and animals are the same species, kind of. So
Well, they're not. Humans and animals aren't the same species by definition. I know what you mean. We're all one. We're all living beings. We're all part of the same ecosystem. We all share a planet, but, it's not precise to say that we're the same species. But I know what you mean.
if there's no animals in the ecosystems,
Again, conditional here, if there were no animals.
I don't think that's working for the world.
I don't think that would work for the world. So if there were no animals in the ecosystem, I don't think that would work for the world. So again, this is second conditional, not too difficult grammar, but should be more accurate.
Yeah, so conserving animal is very important.
Okay, great. And what is your opinion on poaching?
Poaching, can
That's an interesting question to have. Not, I'm not a big fan when candidates say that's an interesting question. I don't know if such a word would come up, would it? What do you think of poaching? I don't know. That seems like quite a difficult word. I think, 70% perhaps of IELTS candidates probably don't know the word poaching, and so I would expect the test makers to take that into consideration. Remember, IELTS should be a multi-level test, and so, there should be gettable words in the question. But sometimes the questions are tough.
you explain me what?
Yeah, so obviously she doesn't know what poaching is, but, not many people do. It's a less commonly used word. Can you explain me? Again, can you explain to me? But, can you for a request? That's okay.
What poaching is?
Oh, sure.
Oh, and an embedding question. Can you explain me, should be to me, what poaching is? So nice word order there. Nice.
For example, when people hunt wild animals.
That's
For-
poaching.
Yeah, that's poaching.
Ah,
Usually it's illegal.
yeah, I don't agree with poaching because for some people,
Again, the connectives are just because it's not massively skilled use of connectives.
who are normally poaching is, I think the purpose is for the money, which is very bad purpose. Yeah, I don't think it's good for animals to be used for money or for being famous or something. So yeah, I don't think that's a good way to make money.
I like the pronunciation there. I don't think that's a good way to make money. Nice chunking, and again, a little bit of eliding of the T's. Not bad.
Okay, and do you think money should be spent on protecting wild animals?
Yes, I think so, because there are lots of animals who are kind of
I like the I think so. That's nice. So many students say I think yes or I think no, but she uses I think so. Nice. Maybe a little bit of strange sentence stress there. Yes, I think so. She says I think so. It's acceptable, but I think so. Yes, I think so. Yes, I think so. I prefer to put the stress on think. Yes, I think so.
very looking for help for their feeding or something, their food. So people should help the animals who are looking for their feeding or their food. So people should use money, I think.
Okay, great. So it was really
So reasonably extended, but not a particularly, I don't know, not a not a strong enough argument, I think, not a well-developed enough argument for anything super high.
Really nice to talk to you about animals today, and that is everything.
Okay, so nice to talk to you about animals today. So the examiners recognized that it was pretty much a speaking test on animals. So the most pressing thing is I don't like the fact that part 1, part 2, and part 3 was animals, but there may be a reason for this, so I won't judge too harshly. I really liked the examiner's demeanor. I liked her intonation. She's friendly, she's smiley, she speaks clearly with a nice presentation voice, so great job. For the candidate, good job. Certainly lots of areas to improve on. Overall, she was given 6.5, and we will listen to the examiner's feedback, but I think I'll give my own feedback. I haven't been counting scores, but let's think fluency and coherence, certainly no more than a 6. I feel like she doesn't... Her use of connectors and discourse markers and cohesion really isn't developed enough for anything higher. Coherence is fine. Her answers are easy enough to understand. Development of answers, it's all right. Speaking at length, I feel she can speak at length, but only with certain amounts of self-correction or hesitation, or without any skilled development, I would say. So certainly no more than a 6 for me for fluency and coherence. Grammatical range and accuracy, I might want to check that again, but I'm leaning maybe more towards 5. I felt like there were just so many frequent mistakes. I don't feel like she had a good stretch where there was like correct sentence after correct sentence after correct sentence. It felt like there was always just some small grammar mistake in there, missing verb to be, missing third person s, not getting the conditionals right. But then on the other hand, she did have a passive gerund, but for me, not enough complex structures and maybe too many mistakes. So yeah, probably leaning towards a 5. Vocab, I think there probably was enough vocab in there for a 6 in terms of being able to speak about familiar and unfamiliar topics. I felt she did have enough vocabulary for that. Maybe she certainly could have offered more. Not too much in terms of like skillful paraphrasing or anything like this. And then finally, moving on to pronunciation, I think 6 is fair. When she's speaking fluently, she has a decent rhythm. She groups and chunks the words together naturally. That's fine. But I don't think she has a really wide range of phonological features. Some parts of intonation are okay, like when she mentioned her dog passing away, and she asked the examiner a question to explain the word poaching. Thought like the intonation was suitable there, but certainly not sustained over the whole test. So I know it's difficult if you have an accent. I speak a few languages, and sometimes there are some phonological features that I just can't get, and even if I really practice them and really try hard, sometimes it can be difficult. So I have sympathy there, but for me, not enough range of phonological features. But that's my feedback. So overall, I think she got a 6 according to me. 5, 6, 6. Yeah, so for pronunciation, let's go back through it again. Fluency and coherence, I think I gave her a 6. Grammar, I gave her a 5. Vocab, I gave her a 6. And pronunciation... yeah, probably enough for a 6. So overall, I give her a 6, not a 6.5. But, if you're 0.5 within, higher or lower than another examiner, it's really not a big deal. Let's see the examiner's feedback.
From the test, so good job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so
Je hebt wederom gebeden zonder enige concentratie. Hoe kan het nou dat je telkens weer hetzelfde doet, terwijl je tegen...
Sorry about that. Free advertising.
you did a lot of really great things during your test. So you spoke very clearly.
I agree.
Your accent was very good.
Yeah, it was good.
Pronunciation was generally good. There were just a few things, like the word zu. I know it can be hard to enunciate the Z always, but you actually did correct yourself. So that was really good. And also, when you were talking about...
Maybe mention the L sound too, because that came up quite a lot, that L sound special.
dogs, you said their hair is flurry, but usually we would say fluffy.
Fluffy.
That's not a pronunciation mistake. Have we moved on to lexical resource now? Or maybe it was a pronunciation mistake.
So just some small little pronunciation things like that. But you also used a good range of vocabulary. So for example, when you were talking about animals being kept in city zoos, you said, oh, it's kind of like a paradox because they...
Yeah, but is it a paradox? If you think it's a paradox, who am I to argue?
should be in the wild because they're wild animals, and then we keep them in the zoo. So it doesn't make much sense, right? So I thought that was really good. Yeah, so in general, you did really well. And you also used some idiomatic expressions, such as like lean on, like...
Yeah, I missed that one. Lean on was a good one.
People lean on their animals for support. They get support from their animals.
Well picked up, well spotted.
Things
Sorry, that sounds really condescending. Sorry.
like that, which was really great. There were a few little expression issues, though. So that you would say something like the zoo's keepers.
Zoo's keeper.
Yeah, instead of like the zookeepers. Just some very, very little details. And also...
I can see that the candidate here is writing down, so I hope she sees my video because I have a lot of feedback in this video, so she could take plenty of notes. And of course, if the candidate is watching and if you have any questions about any of my explanations, feel free to get in touch. I will answer your questions.
When you were talking about the behavior of dogs, you said liberation, but we should say they act in a very liberated way.
Liberated way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do dogs act in a very liberated way? To me, that sounds a little bit unnatural, They seem free and easy, carefree, perhaps.
Or we could also say with a different expression, like they behave very freely.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. But overall, you did very well. And I think I would give you a 6.5 on the IELTS scale.
Ah, thank
Oh, so 6.5 overall. It's not far away. I gave her a 6. I think maybe she could have mentioned some things about the connectives and discourse markers and cohesion, but one thing I will say is the test was rather short. So even with feedback, we're on 10 minutes 42 here. So an IELTS test should take between 11 and 14 minutes. I understand that we skipped 1 minute of the preparation time, but still, this test was a little bit too fast. So certainly advise in part 1, get a few more topics, and also in part 3, you can keep 2 kind of connected but separate topics. And also, just to repeat, 3 parts about animals. Is there a reason for that? Maybe.
you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And you did a really great job.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy for the result, actually.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It was
All right, I'll leave it there. And my final thoughts, the final thing I'll say is that I really liked both participants in this. I thought the examiner was super friendly and nice, and I thought the candidate was super relaxed and also had a really pleasant intonation throughout all of her speech. Wow, I'm saying nice things. Terrible. Have a wonderful evening, day, afternoon, night, wherever you may be. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and let me know if you would like to have a free speaking test with some analysis. That's all. Bye-bye.